G'day, I'm Mark Latham, and today I'm looking at the madness of the way in which our schools are promoting gender fluidity. Now, one of the big controversies in the Australian education system in the last couple of years has been a thing called safe schools. It was originally promoted as an anti-bullying program, but then the founder of the program, a Marxist leftist academic from Victoria, Ros Ward, she let the cat out of the bag. She said it was all about gender and sexual diversity. Here's Ros Ward.
About Safe Schools Coalition is about supporting gender and sexual diversity. Not about celebrating diversity, not about stopping bullying, about gender and sexual diversity, about same-sex attracted, about being transgender, about being lesbian, gay, bisexual, say the words, transgender, intersex, not just be nice to everyone, everyone's great.
And as a committed Marxist, Ward went on to acknowledge that Safe Schools program was about promoting social change from a Marxist perspective. It's not hard to understand why the Marxists want to promote gender fluidity in our schools. It confuses young people, makes them agitated about their identity, makes them potentially rise up against what Ward calls the existing social order. And of course, it attacks the nuclear family, something that Marxists deride as a source of social stability and part of the way in which capitalism survives in our society. So of course, the Marxists want to attack the family. They want to attack the notion of gender reality, that you're born either as a boy or a girl. They want young people to think that everything is fluid in their lives. The wonder of it, of course, is how these Marxists have got a foothold in our education system, how they're allowed to promote these programs in our schools. That's the real evil of what's going on, and the failure of Labor and Liberal education ministers around the country to do anything about this insidious program. Now, in New South Wales, the biggest Australian state, in April, the Education Minister, this guy Rob Stokes, said he was abolishing safe schools out the window and he was going to replace it with a new anti-bullying program. Well then, in August, have a look at this headline, the Sydney Daily Telegraph busted bureaucrats in the education department. They're running things. The public servants run the schools, not the minister. They were introducing safe schools, another Trojan horse approach to have it up and running in sex education courses. And again, Stokes was forced to say, oh no, that won't happen and I'll sort these bureaucrats out, I'll discipline them. No such thing has happened. In fact, the public servants are running amok when it comes to gender fluidity programs in our schools. I've been told about the resurrection of safe schools in New South Wales under a new guise, a third Trojan horse approach. First it was anti-bullying, then it was sex education. Now, under the banner of child protection, they're reintroducing this garbage into our schools. The minister doesn't run the education system, neo-Marxist public servants do, and that's the real problem we've got in Australia. Now have a look at what I've uncovered here. This is the curriculum outline for personal development, health and physical education courses under the banner of child protection, stage 3 education, so we're talking years 5 and 6. So these are kids as young as 10. Kids as young as 10 are going to be told here, you can see it here in black and white in the syllabus outline, that feminine and masculine are not necessarily inherent categories that pre-exist in each individual. They're trying to say to a young boy, you can really be a girl. They're trying to say to a girl, you can be a boy anytime you like. And what they're talking about here is an insidious approach where parents, educators and popular culture can speak and practice gender as binarisms, that is the binary approach, you're either male or female under our common understanding of biological science, and they're encouraging children to act as their own agents in the construction and maintenance of gender categories. So rebel against your parents and get stuck into this neo-Marxist garbage. That's what's being taught. Now, it goes beyond that. You can see here under the class materials page that they've got a class exercise where the kids are encouraged to bring into school a collection of birthday cards they and their siblings have received over the years. So loving parents are giving out the birthday cards. They've got to bring it into school and the teacher will put the girls' cards up on the display board and the boys on a different display board. But of course the political correctness comes into play. The teachers are told, there it is in black and white, avoid using labels such as boys' cards or girls' pictures. So gender political correctness, the de-gendering of language, you can't use expressions like boys' cards or girls' pictures, according to the neo-Marxists drawing up the education curriculum. And then it goes on to encourage the kids to question the way in which they've been portrayed on these birthday cards by their loving parents. It's a direct attack on the nuclear family, and they're asked what kind of pictures for cards would better describe the way you really are. So your parents have got it wrong, you're not really like this, you give us the description of the way you really are. You can see that in the section under the discussion and the questions that are put to the students. And then at the end of this gender fluidity propaganda, you've got the statement here that individual understandings and personal choices about gender never exist in a vacuum. Oh no, you can't have biological science. Normal, acceptable and desirable ways of enacting gender vary among the different groups we belong and interact with. Therefore, positions taken up by individuals can often be contradictory or fluid. There it is, gender fluidity. As girls and women and boys and men take up a range of different feminine and masculine stances. So it's just crazy that this stuff has got so far into the education system. It is a direct threat to our learning, and it just shows you the madness of our schools move beyond being learning institutions to get into radical gender theory, to get into sexuality, to get into things that the parents would rather talk to their kids about as the needs arise. And beyond that, you've got a lot of kids in these schools gaming the system. They're boys one day, girls the next. They think transgender is funny or it makes them stand out. I've spoken to teachers who say that you've got kids who've worked out that nobody can touch them in the school if they play the transgender card. Because any teacher who said, look, we're gaming the system here, this is just some sort of prank you're playing on the school. If the kid was to do anything about their personal safety, suicide or anything like that, the teachers live in fear. You couldn't possibly touch the kids because they'll be out of a job and front page news in the newspaper. So the system is frozen on the basis of concerns about mental health and the fact they've introduced radical gender theory. Teachers think they're doing the job of parents. The teachers have got to the point now when it comes to gender and sexuality under these neo-Marxist programs, the teachers think they're the parents. Well, I've got news for the teachers in government schools around Australia. Some of you do a decent job, some of you absolutely bloody hopeless, but none of you are the parents of our children. In our lives, you are still relative strangers. We meet you at the parent-teacher night and a few other occasions, school pick-up and the like, but you are still relative strangers in our lives. They're our kids. And I can tell you what, as a parent, as long as my backside points to the ground, I won't be letting any of my kids through any of these programs. This is a role for families, the nuclear family and parents, to talk to their kids about these issues rather than being spun out and hypnotised by neo-Marxist propaganda that should never be in the curriculum, should never be in the syllabus. I'm Mark Latham for Rebel Australia. And if you like this video, please share it with all your family and friends on social media, and please support our very important campaign to keep Rebel Australia and Mark Latham's Outsiders alive. Standwithlatham.com to fight lawfare, to fight malicious lawsuits. Standwithlatham.com.